Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Eustace Farmer and I'm excited to introduce a new game by TML Studios to my channel. It's called Fernbus Coach Simulator and it takes place in Germany and it's sponsored by Flixbus. So I wanted to take you through just a brief little synopsis of what I did to get the game set up because like all games, this one also, although it's awesome, it does have its little quirks and I find there are some things that could be a little more user-friendly than they are. So if you would like to purchase this game and play it for yourself, you can refer to my video and maybe it'll help you set up a bit quicker and smoother so you can get right in and start enjoying it. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So starting from the top, vehicle tilt is set at default, and trust me, that's probably all the tilt you're going to want for your tilting needs. This bus, when you go around turns, you're going to have to slow down anyway, regardless of the speed posted limit, because the bus does have quite a bit of tilt going from left to right, and you don't want to jar the passengers. So a lot of these settings in here, in this particular category, are going to be preferential that you can experiment. So I want to try to highlight some of the ones that I think are of special interest, like steering camera. I put it on 0. I turned it off because I don't like it when you turn the wheel and it keeps putting your head in that direction. So I turned that off. I can always look in that direction if I need to. Sometimes I don't want to look as sharp in that direction, if that makes sense. Center camera when driving, that's kind of along the same lines. It'll keep jutting your head back to the middle. So I turned that off. You can try it on, see how you like it. If you don't like it, take it off. Event frequency. Now, I put this at 50. It's default at 100. 50 is more than adequate, and the events do seem to affect the behavior of the AI in general, and they can really jam things up on you, even to the point where it's kind of like odd. So to trim that down a bit seems to make things much smoother, and it also helps you to get to your destinations on time, which I found at 100%, it's next to near impossible to do. So once you become familiar with the game, and that's going to happen pretty quick, you can tick off Show Tutorial, and that's just going to keep another element from clogging up your screen and ruining the immersion. I do keep the subtitles on, though, just so I don't miss like an important cue from a passenger, or maybe there's a lot of background noise going on in the game, and you might not quite have understood what they said, so it's best to keep those on, at least for a little while. So show bus stop areas, I tick that off because I found that having those brackets on the ground really didn't seem to be very necessary. It says bus stop on the pavement and you'll see the people. Invisible walls, I turn that off as well so you don't see those big circles and X's. You can tell on the map where you can and can't go. The streets are light gray for where you can go and dark gray for where you can't. So you'll hit a wall when you hit the dark gray. So the refueling area and service area and stuff like that, it's going to put a marker at the physical location so you can see it from the road so you know where to pull in and things like that. So you might want to keep that around for a while, if not permanently. The enable force feedback, I usually keep that on just so you can feel the rumble strip, or if you happen to crack something, you'll know it. And then traffic density, I put it down to 25. It comes ramped up at 100. It is way too much overkill. The AI at this point, in my opinion, they don't know how to behave at 100%. They will do some crazy things and like stop and pile up in the middle of the road and block your way, and you will be late. So I found around 25 or 30 gives a pleasant amount of traffic, and you can go up, you know, like from 30 to anywhere from 30 to 40 will give you a bit of a rush hour. Experiment with it, that's all I can say, but I found that keeping it at 25 seems to serve my purposes. And welcome to our graphics department. 2560 by 1440 is my screen resolution. It came default at the full screen borderless. I really didn't care for it, so I just ticked full screen and put in mine. Field of view is default at 80. I ticked it up to 90 because there's not a huge dramatic difference. It doesn't turn your view into like the Google Street View bubble, but it's just enough to give you a little extra peripheral vision, so I do recommend you doing that. And then we get down to a few other important features, the gamma. So if you lower that a bit, it's going to become more contrasty. If you raise it, it's going to become more washed out. So I did lower it a little bit just to kind of crisp things up, but you don't want to go too low because it's going to make things look dirty and muddy. After playing with the gamma and the other settings, you may want to do a little color grading. So if you raise it up, it's going to become more vibrant, a little more warm. Lowering it, it's going to cool things down a bit. Now, motion blur, I turn all the way off because I don't want to see a lot of motion blur when I'm moving around. It's kind of nauseating for me, so I just turned it all the way off. Makes better video quality anyway. And the light bloom setting. This is like a lens flare reflection that you'll get off of objects, but I find it to be like a filter that's broadly placed over everything. And what can happen if this is up too high is all the whites in the game can get blown out and very blaringly bright. So like the sidewalks, the lines in the roads, they'll pretty much darn near glow. So I find backing that down to 0.297 or 0.3, you still get a nice light reflection, but you won't get this blaring burst of color. So basically, I did auto detect, which you see up there in the top left corner, and that predicted what my computer could handle, and I used it as a benchmark to go in and tweak everything else, and it pretty much put everything at epic except for one on high. So if you're finding that you're still not happy with the FPS in the game, which you probably won't be anyway, but if you want to get a little more, you can decide which settings that you want to sacrifice and lower a little bit to get more optimization in the game. I find the game to go between 20 and 40 FPS respectively. There's been times where I've hit 50, but when I pull into the airport depot, there is sometimes 16 FPS. So definitely some more optimizing needs to be done in this game. Audio, pretty self-explanatory, nothing complex. There's your master volume for everything in the game. Music for me is on 0 because I can't have the music playing when I'm recording YouTube videos. So if you're a YouTuber, you want to come in and knock that down straight away. So all to your preference. And moving on to controls, and this is the general section, and we won't spend too long in here. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to set up alternative keys other than the keyboard to walk and strafe and all that. And strafing is kind of like if you're looking forward, but you want to use your A and D keys to move left and right without changing your angle of view. That's a strafe. So you could set all those up here, and then the hot wheel keys. If you press the tab button on your keyboard, it'll bring up a secondary HUD. You could put secondary mirrors on the screen. You can take your mini nav HUD off of the screen or put it on, and you can also use your steering wheel in that mode to perform whatever functions that you program it to. So that's a pretty handy and very clever feature, I have to say. And then other buttons you'll see: enter and leave the vehicle. There's several of these that I have programmed to my wheel, especially the zooming key on the Navi to be able to zoom in and out, and that's Q, because in this game the Navi could be hard to read, and when I'm driving down the highway I'll have it all the way out so I could see when my exit's coming up, and then I will have it zoomed in pretty close as I approach the exit, because there's a lot of chicanes on these highways, a lot of sudden narrowing of roads, and you can really misinterpret a turn. Having the smartphone programmed to your wheel is a good idea because that tells you all your scheduling information and other things, so good to have on there. And that's pretty much it, what I have to tell you for this section. I will show you how to map keys. They have an interesting way of doing it, but we'll do that in the next section, which would be the Neoplan Skyliner. That's an add-on bus. It's $14.99. I do recommend purchasing it if you have the funds. It's a double-decker, absolutely gorgeous modern bus. So let's go ahead and we'll look in there. So the first thing I'll tell you is, after you go through and program everything you like in the Neoplan Skyliner or the Man Lions Coach, whichever one you're working in, you don't have to worry about doing it all over again for each bus. This little button here, you can copy to the Man Lions Coach or to all other buses. You're also going to unlock a Man Lions Coach C model as well. So no need to worry, you can do it all in one. So the first thing I would highly recommend you doing right off the bat is to come over to the right-hand corner once again, and you're going to see an assistant button for each one of the peripherals that you have plugged in. Go through the assistant and let it auto-detect and auto-set up for you. It's going to ask you to turn the wheel to the left, to the right, step on the brakes and the gas and all that, and get that done as a great benchmark. I didn't do it for my SATEC control panel because I was going to map all the buttons myself, and I don't want to see what it'll do to that. But it does a great job to start off with. So let me show you how to map a key here, and then we'll fine-tune the wheel. So you're just going to come over and click this little drop-down arrow that says more or less, and then you're going to get this little green bar on the bottom of that drop-down menu that says add a key. You just tick that, and then you choose the respective key that you'd like to map to that, and then that's it. You're done. Rinse and repeat. These other little buttons here on the side, this one is to reset the key to its default setting, and then you're going to see that little tablet and pen key, that's the edit key, and then the trash pail is to delete that particular key. I recommend deleting the key if you change your mind and want to put another one. Editing it seems to make it a little funny sometimes, so it's just easy enough and quick enough to just go ahead and add another key in place of that one. So reset to street. It's literally what it means. It's only good if you run off the road and you need to get back on the street. You hit your backspace button and that'll pop you back. If you go down a road and you get boxed in between traffic and an invisible wall and you can't turn around, this is not going to help you. What you have to do in that case is you have to save, quit the mission, and then come back in. And the traffic should not be boxing you in at that point. Turning off traffic on the fly does not help. It will get rid of all the other traffic in the city, but the culprits that are still boxing you in are not going to disappear. So that's a bit unfortunate, and I think that whole scenario needs to be worked on a little bit. Okay, so again, after you've done the little assistant thing up here and get your basic benchmark for your steering setup, you're going to come over to steering and you're going to see if you move it, you'll get those little different colored bars for left and right. You'll click the drop down arrow, make sure it's highlighted. Otherwise, you can click on the wrong one and get a little jumbled up, and then you're going to see your wheel access, Logitech G27 or whatever wheel that you have listed there. You're going to come over and you're going to click the little settings wrench over on the right here. That's where you're going to configure or fine tune your wheel. And then you're going to see all this scary looking stuff, but it's really not that bad at all. But I will warn you that this is awfully finicky. The buttons are a little off, so you kind of have to go like below it and figure out where it is. And sometimes you can hit the custom button for the output range or inverted. It's a nightmare. So that's the only bad thing about this. They need to fix that. So once you find where that is, you're going to see those crosshairs move off of the shadow behind it. Don't pay much attention to that. Look at the little box that's across from your wheel access heading there. You're going to line up so you don't see any color. You want it totally in line with that little white line in the middle of that box. So you're going to adjust it on both ends, and you can, experiment with it. See, now you see a little more orange here. So you're just going to line it up as perfect as you can. If it goes crazy, which sometimes it does, just hit the back button over on the left. Don't hit accept, and that won't save it. Then just go back into it and do it again. Once you do that, you'll have, in my opinion, perfect one-to-one steering. And I also have my Logitech wheel in my Logitech profile set to around 650 degrees of rotation. This one, just happened to be at 652. It's just fine. I found that it really can't handle 900 degrees of rotation and feel right. That's another number. You can slide that back and forth and experiment with that on your own. You can also pause the video and take a screenshot of my settings and start with those and then tweak them to your liking. But keep in mind, every time you move the degrees of rotation in your profile, you're going to have to come back into the steering wheel control setting and further tweak that again. So a little tedious, but well worth it all in the end if it improves your overall driving experience. All right, so I've gone ahead and loaded up the game, and I think we'll just choose a free play mode. I don't want to mess up my save because I'm going to do some naughty things intentionally just for demonstration purposes. So here is the Flixbus Neoplan Skyliner in its standard paint scheme. It's really nice. You get your choice of 3 ugly characters, 2 men and 1 lady. So we'll pick him. He's the lesser of the evils. And customize. This is where you can load in one of your modded bus skins. So there's plenty to choose from in the workshop. This one is by Sim UK. He's very good. And this one is by Captain Slow. And then this one's by TML Studios, the makers of the game. And this is the Skyliner, also by Sim UK. Again, a brilliant, brilliant skin. He did a really nice job. I'm going to be making some skins of my own, and I'll be offering them to you guys as well, probably on our forum, 3dudesgn.com. So, difficulty. If you pick realistic, you're not going to see anything checked except for start from depot. So, you can customize by hitting the customize button, and then you can tick on or off whatever you like to have. If you have start from depot clicked on, and you go ahead and play a certain mission and it's saved. If you come back in and tick it off, it's not going to recognize that. You have to recreate that route or do it on a different route. It's only seems like a one-time deal. The date, you can have today's date or put whatever date you want just by clicking that computer symbol there. There it is, today's date. And then the time, the same thing. Click the computer. It gives you the current time of your system, or you can plug in a time of your own that you would like to start at. And then the weather. You have your choice between dynamic, rain, sunny, cloudy, and snow isn't unlocked for me yet because I'm still a noob. So dynamic will change, obviously, over time. Manned Lions Coach. This is the standard, and this is the C. The C model, which will be unlocked later, is just going to give you a longer chassis and then 2 rear wheels in the back. All right, so here we are, and as you see, I'm in third-person view, and you can accomplish that by scrolling back to get the third-person view and scrolling forward to get first-person view and any level of zoom in between, as you see here. So here's a little pan of the beautiful Neoplan Skyliner Bus. The license plate is custom, but as you can see, it gives an error for the first 3 letters and then it only shows the last 3 letters in your customized plate. So that's a bit of a bummer. Now, the destination sign you see above the top windshield. Before you get out of the driver's seat, press your Z button and activate the destination. Otherwise, the passengers will not get on the bus and they'll be like, oh, where are you going? Or that's not my bus. And that's the problem. You can't check them in unless you have destination active. Let's go ahead and pop the door open here and climb in the driver's seat. There we go. Perfect one-to-one steering. I don't have a webcam, I'm sorry to show you, but trust me, it is in perfect alignment with my G27. So as you see, we have a pseudo track IR zoom feature where you can lean your head forward, and I put it in gear. It's supposed to be D1, I think, like in a car, but I put it in D5 because I find that in D1 or any of the other settings, it seems to have a significant delay when you're at a stop and you go to press the gas pedal and start moving. There's a big delay. It doesn't seem to be apparent in D5, and then DM on the bottom is manual. That's if you want to shift the different drive gears yourself using the keyboard or a mapped key. You should have it in neutral whenever you're parked, and then you have a reverse 1 and a reverse manual. So if you hear that noise when you take off, that lets you know that there's a hatch open or a door, and it won't stop until you close it. So we can use the right click on our mouse, hold it in, and we can use our zoom feature to check our mirrors more closely to make sure we don't curb anything. And we'll go around this corner here on the right, and we'll use our zoom feature again. It's something that takes practice because you can hit something in front of you or on the left of you, which I almost did. And as you can hear or not hear, the motor is very quiet like a Toyota Prius. This is the view of the first floor going forward. That's the back view. And then you can do the top floor, beautiful skylights. Mad skills if you can drive like that. And this is the front view on the top floor. So if you want to be in the front. And then we'll just take a turn down here and go to that dark gray area I spoke of before, and we will encounter an invisible wall. And like I said, you could turn those markers on. But first, let me show you, if you hit tab on the keyboard, you can activate on-screen mirrors if you're an outside driver, and you can turn your Navi on and off. And there's your Hot Wheel keys you can turn on. Over on the left here is the mouse control, and you can drive the bus with the mouse. No thank you. Not for me. Now that we're all set for outside driving, Crashamundo. So now you're faced with a few options of what to do. So you can see we're in the dark gray, so we'll put on our reverse cam. Really good quality, by the way. And we can begin the task of reversing this bus, which is quite simple on this road because it's a 4-lane road with no traffic. But if you have a situation where it's this road or a 2 or 1 lane road and you have a lot of traffic, well, then you're in a sticky wicket. You then have to decide, do I sacrifice some XP and smash the bus and them to bits, or do I quit the game, save it and quit and come back? That's what I would suggest. So here, as you see, you can raise the bus and kneel the bus, and you'll want to do that for your passengers. Buttons in the panel. There's something going on with these buttons. Some are lit up when they are not active, and some of them light up when they are active. So lighting up when active is correct. So I think they need to work on that. Not a game breaker, but nevertheless. So this is to lock the doors. So if you find that you can't open the bus doors or the luggage doors, chances are you have them locked. This one is for the restroom. This one is kitchen clearance. It lights up the little kitchen light as you see in the camera. And then we have Wi-Fi. So these are the things that the passengers will scream about. So it's best to turn them on before you even go to the depot. You turn on the air conditioning, and I usually keep it at about 22 Celsius, and that seems to keep them quiet. Now, that could change based on the temperature outside, whatever kind of day it is. I don't know for sure. I haven't been playing the game that long, but that could change based on the environment, just to be aware. So here's reading light clearance, and then passenger light clearance upstairs and downstairs. Those light up the entire cabins. You might want to have those when you're exiting and boarding the bus for them. And then your rear and front door, and you would have a middle button there if you had a third door. Passenger monitor on, so that tells them the information that they would like to know about their trip. Passenger announcement, you need to play that after everybody's settled on the bus. Otherwise, you can lose experience points for that. And the announcement will play in English and German. And this is just a dashboard view. There's really nothing interactive here, but if you wanted to come in here just to see what's going on. For some reason, when the bus is lifted up, I get the warning, so that's backwards. So there are a few little quirks, but I know they're coming out with some major updates. They're very diligent about keeping the game up, and they have a lot of big plans. So here is your headlight switches, and you kind of got to find the little activation node and drag it. And ASR threshold, and this is the trailing axle relief, so that will lift the third axle at times, assuming from the name. I haven't really used it yet, so your guess is as good as mine on that, but common sense dictates. And that's ABS, Brake-O-Matic, and as you see, when it's off, it lights up. When it's on, it's off. So, and this is to lift up the bus and to lower the bus front and back, and then these buttons over here to the right, as soon as that annoying little screen goes off, that's to lift up the front, and then that's to lift up the rear, or lower them individually. Very nice. Then down here, this is to turn the in-dash navigation on or off, and then you have cruise control, and then over to the left, you have automatic and manual particle filter cleaning. I don't know if that does anything, but I always take it on because maybe you would get experience points off for not. So, who knows? And then over here, we have a few additional buttons. You have your driver's light, and then you have your windscreen heating and your mirror heating. And this is the window shade. Now, when you're parked, you can have it all the way down, but you can't when you're driving because there's no hole in the middle of it, so you can't see. So you'll have to kind of hold the up button and adjust it to where you can see, but yet not have the sun in your eyes. And then destination display on, as I said before, you have to have that on or they will not board your bus. And these up here do nothing. So I think that's just about it for in here. And then over here again, comfort suspension. You want to have that on. Fanfare. This will change the sound of the horn. So you'll have a standard horn when it's off, and then you'll have sounds like an emergency vehicle horn when it's on. I don't know the significance or why that's used, but I always tick it on. Like I said, it doesn't hurt. And this is your cell phone. You bring that up for all your scheduling information, your check-in information again. So, and you can adjust settings on the fly by clicking the wrench down the bottom row there. You can save your game incrementally as you go along by hitting the little save icon between the wrench and the back arrow. And then the door all the way to the left is to exit the game. So be careful when doing that. And then this, if you have to sell a ticket, you would do that from here. The from line would be filled, and then you would check the city off that they tell you, and then press the check button, and it would show based on availability. And if not, then it tells them, sorry, can't help you. And then the routes button, this is to change your route entirely. So be careful with this one. All right, folks. So I know it's a lot of information, especially I tried to cover it in the shortest amount of time possible, but yet I wanted to be very thorough with you because I want to give you the best experience possible when you start to play this game. If you do, I highly recommend it. It really is awesome. The graphics are spectacular. The gameplay is awesome, I have to say, and in some ways I think it's maybe a little bit above truck simulators in that you can leave the vehicles and explore. And I mean, I've taken walks through the woodlands and down by the rivers, and you could really go off the beaten path with this and do things that you didn't think possible. So do give it a try, and if you do, share your photos on our thread at 3dudesgn.com, and please do let me know how you like it as well. I'd thrilled to hear from you. And as always, if you have any questions or I can help you in some way, please do let me know. I am happy to help any way that I can. It's my pleasure. So thank you very much for watching. And until we meet again, my friends, please take great care of yourself, okay? And bye-bye for now.